For 10 years, an invisible enemy stole Kathy Wilson's life, piece by piece. Doctors were baffled, treatments failed, and her family watched in helpless horror until a chance encounter with a repairman revealed a truth more shocking than any diagnosis. Kathy Wilson, 41, was a force of nature. Before the shadows crept in, she'd been a whirlwind, juggling a demanding career as a freelance graphic designer with the vibrant chaos of raising her daughter, Ashley, single-handedly. Weekends were for exploring hiking trails. Ashley perched in a carrier on Kathy's back, their laughter echoing through the trees. Evenings were often spent in her small home studio, the rhythmic hum of the pottery wheel a soothing counterpoint to the day's demands. Her hands, strong and capable, transformed shapeless clay into delicate bowls and intricate sculptures. She was a vibrant thread in the tapestry of Shelbyville, known for her infectious energy and unwavering optimism. Then, a subtle shift. A persistent tiredness that sleep couldn't banish. Headaches that throbbed behind her eyes. A dull counterpoint to her usual sharp focus. Kathy, ever the pragmatist, chalked it up to stress, the relentless pressure of deadlines and single motherhood. She'd always been able to push through, to find a reserve of energy she didn't know she possessed. This time, though, the reserve felt depleted. She remembered a brief, almost forgotten flurry of activity, the installation of a new water heater, a minor disruption in the otherwise smooth rhythm of their lives. It had seemed insignificant at the time. Little did she know, it was the beginning of a decade-long nightmare. The fatigue deepened, becoming a constant companion. Kathy's vibrant world began to shrink. She started missing deadlines, her once meticulous work becoming riddled with errors. The pottery wheel sat silent, covered in a layer of dust, a poignant symbol of her fading strength. Ashley, a bright, perceptive 10-year-old, noticed the change in her mother. The easy laughter that had filled their home was replaced by strained silences and worried glances. Kathy's usual boundless energy had been replaced by a weary resignation. The first doctor's visit yielded nothing. Stress, the doctor declared, prescribing vitamins and rest. But the rest didn't come, and the vitamins seemed useless against the creeping malaise. More visits followed. A cardiologist, his face etched with concern, ordered a battery of tests: EKGs, stress tests, echocardiograms. The cold gel of the ultrasound wand on her chest, the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor, the sterile smell of the clinic, all became chillingly familiar. Yet, the results were always the same. Normal. Then came the neurologist, the endless questions about her symptoms, the strange tapping of hammers against her knees, the blinding flash of light in her eyes. MRIs, CT scans, EEGs, a relentless parade of medical technology that yielded only frustration. The medical bills piled up, adding another layer of stress to Kathy's already overwhelming burden. She started experiencing panic attacks, the fear of the unknown, the fear of leaving Ashley alone, consuming her. Desperate, Kathy turned to alternative medicine. Acupuncture needles, tiny pinpricks of hope, offered fleeting relief, but the underlying exhaustion remained. Herbal remedies, with their earthy scents and bitter tastes, promised a cure, but delivered only disappointment. Special diets, meticulously planned and followed, left her feeling weaker, not stronger. Ashley, meanwhile, was becoming a shadow of her former self. She spent hours online, researching obscure illnesses, her young face etched with a worry that was far beyond her years. She argued with doctors, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and frustration, demanding answers that they couldn't provide. She gave up sleepovers with friends, her social life shrinking as she took on more responsibilities at home, trying to ease the burden on her ailing mother. One particularly poignant scene unfolded in Dr. Ramirez's office, Ashley's small hand gripping her mother's, her voice cracking as she pleaded. There has to be something wrong. She's not herself. The doctor, his face a mask of professional sympathy, could only offer another referral, another test, another dead end. The breaking point came on a cold November evening. Kathy, preparing a simple dinner, collapsed in the kitchen, the clatter of the dropped pan echoing in the sudden silence. Ashley found her, pale and trembling, on the floor, her eyes wide with terror. It was that moment, seeing the fear in her daughter's eyes, that Kathy decided to renovate the bathroom. It wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about reclaiming a small piece of her life, a desperate attempt to regain some control in a world that felt increasingly out of control. The peeling paint and outdated fixtures of the bathroom had become a symbol of her own decay. Changing it felt like a necessary act of defiance. The renovation began with a cacophony of noise and dust, a stark contrast to the quiet despair that had settled over their home. Kathy, weakened and relying on a cane, answered the door to two nondescript repairmen, there to inspect the furnace as part of the overall project. They were polite, professional, and initially unremarkable, figures in a blur of activity. She retreated to the couch, hoping a nap might ease the persistent ache in her bones. The conversation that changed everything was almost missed. Amidst the hammering and drilling, the contractor, a burly man named John, asked about the water heater. It was a routine question, part of the overall assessment. Kathy, her mind foggy with fatigue, struggled to remember. It was about 10 years ago, I think, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Around the time I started feeling unwell. The words hung in the air, a faint echo of a forgotten detail. John and his assistant, Mark, exchanged a look. They continued their inspection, their movements becoming more deliberate, their focus intensifying. They examined the furnace, the water heater, the venting system, their initial casual demeanor replaced by a growing sense of urgency. Finally, John turned to Kathy, his voice grave. "Ma'am," he said, "we found something. The flue pipe connecting your water heater and furnace. It's improperly installed. It's been leaking carbon monoxide into your home, slowly, for years." The words hit Kathy like a physical blow. Disbelief warred with a dawning realization, a flood of relief and anger washing over her in equal measure. The years of suffering, the endless tests, the fear, the uncertainty, all of it, explained by a faulty pipe, a silent, invisible poison that had been slowly stealing her life. The subsequent doctor's visit was a stark contrast to the previous ones. Dr. Ramirez, his face now etched with a mixture of relief and chagrin, confirmed the diagnosis: chronic carbon monoxide poisoning. He explained the long-term effects, the neurological damage, the slow, insidious way the gas had replaced the oxygen in her blood, starving her body and brain. Kathy's recovery was gradual, a slow climb back from the abyss. The headaches lessened, the fatigue began to lift, the fog in her brain slowly cleared. She and Ashley rebuilt their lives, their bond strengthened by the shared ordeal. There were difficult conversations, tears shed, apologies offered and accepted. Kathy did briefly explore legal options, although that became less of a priority than her recovery. But Kathy also found a new purpose. She became a passionate advocate for carbon monoxide safety. She shared her story with local newspapers, spoke at community meetings, her voice trembling at first, then growing stronger with each telling. She handed out carbon monoxide detectors, small white boxes that represented a second chance at life, a chance she was determined to share with others. The small, white device she had installed in her own home was, now, more than just a safeguard. It was a constant reminder of the decades stolen, and the life she had fought so hard to reclaim, a symbol not only of life's fragility, but her own defiant resilience.